Did you see what happened at the Oscars? Will Smith hit Chris Rock, Jack. You must keep up. Can you come to the kitchen, please? I just want to make myself a coffee. I feel like I need energy to keep up with all this bloody drama. Okay. Chris Rock is standing and he's talking and he's making jokes. As he does, he's a comedian. He goes and he makes this nasty joke about Jada. What do you mean, who's Jada? It's Will's wife. Can you keep up, Jack, man? Please now. So Chris makes this joke and Will is not impressed. And then he goes and he makes his way to stage and he smacks Chris. It's a lot. I'm trying to process all this information. Very uninterested in this, Jack. Where are you going? Yes, I know some of us have jobs and have better things to do, but you can at least pretend to be interested. It's fine. Okay, have a good day. I love you. Excuse me? The bloody man can't even say I love you back. Anyway, how's it, Bob? How are you?
Hilarious. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Price of Fame. My name is Lunga Tshuka, and I'll be your host. Of course, otherwise I would have done it. All right, so this is season 2, episode 1, and you just got a glimpse of tonight's guest. Tonight's guest, a little bit about her. Tonight's guest is a professional actress by trade and a certified screenwriter as well as a casting director. But the one thing I love about her the most is that she is hilarious, especially when she's doing constant Shimon impersonations on TikTok as well as Instagram. You can catch her at Girl Named Cassidy. Ladies and gents, without further ado, please welcome to the screen, Cassidy Nicholson. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that's what we were doing. Okay.
Yeah, just for a bit. That's cool.
Whatever.
Cassidy, good evening to you. How are you doing, my dear?
Oh gosh, I'm glad to be here. Happy to be here. It's kind of like a carte blanche on a Sunday. This is how I know my day is coming to an end.
Yes.
Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on The Price of Fame. It's really, really lovely to have you. Like, it's so cool to see the people and be entertained by people, you know, through like the phone and whatever. And then like you get a chance to actually meet them and speak to them. So yeah, I'm really excited to getting to know who the real Cassidy is. Can the real Cassidy please stand up? Please stand up.
I've been standing this whole time. It's actually rude. I'm kidding.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I get that. A lot of people that don't know, that's a height in real life. So yeah. Are you like 5 foot? Are you 5 foot? 5 foot something or 5?
I'm 5'1", yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Well, it's not bad. That's not bad. Isn't you on average girls isn't like the average height for most girls? Most females?
It depends on where you're from. If you're from the Netherlands, then absolutely not.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, might as well. Even if you're Upper Africa, hey, then you might as well.
Those are giraffes. We don't talk about it. Those are giraffes.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Let's get into it.
Cool.
Before we get into all the questions about everything like that in part of your life, in a nutshell, can you wrap up for me? What was 2021 like for you? And what is your biggest goal for 2022?
Oh gosh, 2021 was filled with 2020 for me was finding what I loved and finding my passion. 2021 was full of lessons. It was that transition of really, securing this content creator life that I've created for myself. It was, I didn't really know what it meant to create content and earn money. I had just known in 2020 that it was something that I like to do. I didn't know that this could be a career. So it was filled with, as I said, with lessons, and it was filled with me just massive realizations on the things that I wanted and didn't want, and just pretty much how to manifest this life and to carry it through. And 2022, I guess, is going to be me having to hold myself accountable for all those lessons I had learned and promises I'd made.
Yeah. That is so cool. No, I like that. I like that consistency and sticking to your word. That is amazing. I mean, I think 2020 and 2021 was 2 years of drastic transformation.
Yeah, right? Big time.
Like first, everything else transformed around you in 2020, and then in 2021 towards the end of 2020, we started transforming as well.
Yeah.
And also in 2021 was just being that new transformation, being like, okay, this is what I do now, this is who I am now, and this is how I cope now. Because the
Exactly.
jobs are gone, some friends are gone, some connections are gone, a lot of things like shook up in 2020, so you had to change your style, change your way of thinking, change your morning, change your whole mindset, and get used to it, like you said. Like, so you're just trying to keep up that new version of yourself now. That's absolutely cool. I mean, I think that's the lesson for most of us, to be honest. Because I never used to have dreads before. And then 2020, in 2020, I'm like, I'm changing my life.
Yeah, this is me
But let
now.
me keep-
You better accept it. Just start voguing into rooms. Like, have you seen my
Yeah.
new hair? Hundreds.
So, like, how did it all start for you? Every little single bit. I'll paint the story from a little Cassidy who knows nothing about the industry. And what
Oh,
was it that
gosh.
sparked you?
It was, look, I'm incredibly blessed and lucky. These realizations and lessons I've learned is the one thing I've always known what I was passionate about, and that was performing. I didn't know when I was younger what type of performing I wanted to be. I mean, I did dance for very many years. I didn't know if I wanted to be in the theater or on the big screen. I just knew that I came alive when I was performing. I mean, look, I feel very sorry for my family and my parents, especially because they just, wanted to go to the family and just watch the bloody rugby. And instead I was like, no, little 4-year-old Cassidy, like, no, give me R2. I've rehearsed a performance. You're going to come and watch it, kind of put them down in seats and just start acting a fool. And I would do that in front of the whole family. But those moments I came alive, and I always knew from a young age that I loved making art. I loved commentary, and I loved it. I loved doing it in a way where it doesn't matter if it has to be funny. I just wanted to create a conversation. That's all I wanted to do. Growing up, I wanted to find a way that people could talk about things that I noticed no one ever wanted to talk about. And you can do that in very many ways, as I said. So for me, that was how I knew I was different. I was very left of center. I was more often than not told that I was just weird as a kid, and I would have friends who would always be like, "Oh no, Cassidy, like you can't just do that, or say that, or be that way." And so that's just how it was. And then as I got older, I come from a mixed background. So my dad was very much staunch in how I needed to live my life because he knew he wanted to set me up for greatness, I guess. And my mom was like, no, let her be. She's an artist. So it was this separation divide of who do I want to be versus who can I be. I was very gifted in tech as a young girl. And so my dad was not impressed. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go into IT. I'm definitely going to go into film and stuff. But I think he's okay with it now. I'm not too sure.
You think?
But it was just, I knew from those moments, and I would always ask the universe. I know that sounds so airy-fairy and like it should be written in a leather-bound journal.
I believe in
I
it
would
too.
ask the universe. Yeah, it comes from here. I would ask the universe all the time because I remember when I was applying for law at UCT, or I was applying to do advertising and marketing at AAA. I remember I was doing all those things, and then load shedding would hit. And you have that one moment where they're like, you have to do all these things, and if you don't get it done on time, sorry, you missed the cut. So I remember I was doing all of that, and then load shedding hit, and I was like, oh no, now I'm not going to be able to apply. And I was so freaked out. And then the next day I got a phone call saying that I'd got a massive role in a movie. And so that's how things started happening for me. Whenever I would be like, okay, no, my dad was right. I need to take, the straight and narrow road. I need to be logical about life. Life would just be like, girl, no. And I would get either a phone call saying I had gotten a role, or I had been, had a director who was interested in seeing me for something, and blah, blah, blah. And so the same thing kind of happened now, I guess. Every time I've tried to veer away from film and acting, the universe has been like, no, you have this moment and you have something, and people clearly enjoy it. So in 2020, I had lost my job. I had lost everything. And I thought to myself, like, look, okay, the universe has told me time and time again that this is where I'm meant to be. So I started doing things called horizontal growth. I find that a lot of people associate success with vertical growth, which is getting the promotion, getting the increase in the salary, getting the, the top job, the CEO, the CFO,
Yeah.
all those jobs. And then after they've gotten it, they're like, okay, but wait, I don't feel fulfilled. And
Yeah.
so there was a time when I said to myself, I've chased that dream, I've done all of those things, and yet that's where I'm at. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe acting's not for me. Let me try writing. Maybe writing's not for me. Let me try casting directing. Let me go into the model industry for a while. Not I wasn't the model, but like I was a booker for a while.
Yeah.
So let me go into all these different avenues in the film industry. And that's when I said to myself in 2020, I was like, I've lost my job. I've lost everything. But time and time again, when I've done the vertical growth, I found myself feeling unfulfilled and really miserable. So I'm going to use the tools I have in my little toolbox, and I'm going to try and do something for myself. I'm not going to let anyone else tell me what I can and can't do and to the capacity at which I can do it. I'm just going to do it. And
Yeah.
here we are, 2 years later.
That is so cool. And
Thanks.
like what I find so interesting, and I have to applaud you for this because like you've basically like made like a name for yourself and basically like another sideline career with content creation. And now here's the interesting part. Everything else that you've done, there's always references you can reference from. There's always acting books when you study acting,
Of
they reference
course.
everything. In the job that you're on, you're learning, you climb, you learn and everything like that. Moving over to content creation, there wasn't anyone like, what are you referencing from? So you just literally had to look at
Exactly.
what you got and create your own thing. And you've actually made it very successful in that.
Thank you.
I think it's like probably it's safe to say, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Like you have more followers now that you were a content creators versus before when
Oh,
you were doing this.
absolutely. I had an accumulation of probably 900 followers. Gosh, and I mean, there was that period where I bought like 50 followers when I was in like high school, but don't tell anyone. But I had like accumulated 900 followers. But I mean, let's be real. How many people are actually following you because they want to see you do well, So
Yeah.
I probably had like 30 people who were interested in what I had to say or do. And if I take my family out of that, probably 5. So definitely, I have a lot more of an audience now, sure.
And that's amazing. And I'm sure like you're very successful because I've seen like a few clips where people are actually, other content creators are reaching out to you now and asking you for advice and being like, hey, and you've done some videos where you actually, and not just them, you actually put it out there for everyone who's
Yeah,
interested. So I appreciate that too, and that's like
thank
when
you.
you're on the side, like on top, on the level, you're actually looking behind you and you look and you're like, oh yeah, you're taking note of the people and being like, look, yes, I am. My content is special, but there is a formula to do this, So
Absolutely.
appreciate that. And so then, when did your passion start for content creation? Well, you said in 2020, but like, and you said like you mentioned that because you couldn't climb anymore and the jobs are taken away. Like, how did that like birth? Like, what made you decide of these different characters, especially the Constantia? What made you think like, you know what, this is how I'm gonna do it? Because people were
I
doing different things,
Yeah,
and you
they
did
were.
something.
I remember. Okay, so it was kind of birthed from two realities in my life. The one was, I remember during lockdown when all of the artists and things were singing off their rooftops because they were trying to bring people together and create this unity and enjoyment from our homes. And I remember I was puzzling with my mom and I was like, how beautiful is that? I was watching Art Matthews from Just Ginger and I was like, how beautiful is that? We're all at home and yet we're all watching this guy live sing on his flippin' roof. And we're sitting and enjoying it. Like, that is so beautiful that we chose an artist. We chose someone to, because I always felt like artists or creatives always kind of pushed under the rug and never really appreciated. And yet, during our lowest, those are the people we turn to. And so I said, if a man like that can do what he's doing and bring a community together, I can do the same thing. And at the same time, my other reality was that social media is a big thing. I'm very invested in business. I actually studied business for a long time, and I've done a few courses and things where we spoke about that and about these few business techniques. And the one thing I realized was that you had to hop on the social media train. Your social media account is now the new website. No one's asking you for your website. They ask you for your handle. They ask you for your social. Where can I go and look at the things that you're doing? You know, I'm very big on I don't, unless it's actually a brand that I'm working with, I do not hold any type of, like, I don't have cigarettes, I don't have alcohol, I don't have any type of thing, because that is a brand. That is ultimately, you're not going to tell someone on your CV that, oh, I went out last weekend and I got a hangover. So that is essentially your new website. And so I thought to myself, okay, cool. Well, I need to hop on the social media train regardless. And at the same time, I was like, but spending more than 5 minutes on social media, for me at least, was incredibly toxic. I would walk away from these scroll holes, hating myself. I would walk away and I would be like, my life isn't like that. Why is my life not like that? I remember when I was living in London, I was just like, who in this world wrote the book on where you should be at such points in your life? Why did I feel like a failure at the age of 22? Why did I feel like a failure? Because I didn't have a house, a husband, 3 kids, and a mortgage. Why? You know, and so I wanted to create this conversation. So when I went into social media, I thought to myself, I want to create this content that brought the community together, that made everyone forget for just a minute what was happening in the world. But at the same time, I want to create content that when people look at my stuff, they feel inspired, they feel educated, they feel like they are with a friend. That's why my name is A Girl Named Cassidy and not Cassidy Nicholson Official. I'm a girl named Cassidy. I'm just another person. And I never, ever wanted people to feel inadequate by looking at the things that I put out. So that's where the realities in which this was birthed, I guess.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And the kind of content that you create is hilarious. And I'm not going to sit here and assume that all actors are funny or all actors can do funny content, because like I've seen actors try comedy and they didn't do well. And sometimes, and a lot of actors even say doing comedic acting is also difficult for them because of the timing of comedy and all of that. You seem to have it like down to the T. Is that something that also grew with your content creation, or were you always actually, like you say, the bubbly person, or you always this funny, charismatic person?
I personally think I was always funny. I'm the funniest person I know. Truly, I think so. I spend most of my evenings laughing at my own jokes. Gosh, I was that person that my friends would always say, geez, you can never take anything seriously. And I'm like, but why? You know? So yeah, I've always been funny. When I did comedy courses, there were just those people in the course that knew the timing. You could feel it. Like, for example, musicians have incredible ears, tonal ears. So you will find that they are really good at accents or harmonizing, just because they have that knack for it, you know? And so there are certain people who just have incredible timing, and you can read a situation and certain things which just work. And a few of us in the class just had that timing. It helps to have a formula, which I now know, but there is like, so nothing in this world is actually funny, but everything in this world is actually funny. And it does come down to timing. So I've always naturally been a very comedic personality. I've always enjoyed laughing. My dad is also a jokester. So I guess it came from that.
Do you think you could write comedy though?
I've done this on a lot of lives. I feel like I need to stop saying it because people are really starting to hold me accountable. I really do. 2022, I really do want to do my first set of stand-up. I feel like that's where I'm being drawn to at this point in my life. However, I am such a perfectionist, and I'm such deep down, I have all of my acting things in which that I've learned. And it's like, if it's not perfect, there's so much preparation that can go into it. And so the mere fact that I may just get up on stage, vomit, piss myself, and then someone will heckle me kind of scares me, but excites me at the same time, because I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere. But I do feel like I'm being drawn in that direction, and I have written a few stand-ups, but I'm just right now I'm having this inner debacle with myself. Like, can I do it? Can I do it? So yeah.
Look, you should just do it. Like, honestly, the way I got into stand-up comedy, like, it was more of a peer pressure thing. Everyone was,
It's
I
always
don't
peer
want to.
pressure with stand-ups. Like, they're always like,
Exactly.
do it, do it, do it. Jeez, I'm
Yeah,
glad
and
you're
I
into
was like,
stand-up comedy and not other things.
yeah, because the thing is, I started out with the industry, stepping in the entertainment industry. I started out with dancing, and that's
Oh,
when I
okay.
was, whoa, this is like a different world, you know. And then from that, I broke away from the crew. Then I started doing emceeing for gigs, you know, started hosting gigs. And I always used to add a bit of personality in there, only because I was afraid of messing up. So that would come across as comical or very comedic skits to people. So they would love that. And they would always ask me, hey, man, are you a comedian? Because we want to come watch your stand up. Because if you do this
Oh,
fun,
good.
like, no, I'm just doing this stuff. Like, for me, it's like a scapegoat, you know? It's
Mm.
like, because the thing is, I grew up being funny, and always, especially in situations where I need to get out of trouble, maybe I will be the fool or funny, because making him laugh got me way out of trouble, you know,
Same.
especially with kids and that kind of thing. So the bully actually liked me because I made him laugh. So sometimes, you know, I like crack a joke if I'm nervous or if I'm in a really tight situation.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so like the thing is, from there, people was like, no, you have to do comedy, you have to do comedy. And then I decided to do comedy eventually. But like the point I'm trying to make is that I was just as afraid. I didn't know what to expect. I thought everyone's going to hate me and judge me and all of that stuff. And it just gets to the point where you just get on. And once you start, you'll never look back, I promise you. So these are all unrealistic fears that you have right now of
I
the
don't even
worst
think
case.
I'm scared of people. I really couldn't give a continental shit what people think of me. I'm just scared my jokes aren't funny. I'm incredibly funny off the cuff, but like,
Yeah.
when you ask a funny person, like, tell me a joke, that's when it gets a little bit like, am I actually funny? You know, I guess that's where I'm at.
Well, the thing is, you never know until you try. And like, I
True.
had that same fear because I was like, because I'm like, I know I'm funny among my friends because I know what we
Yes.
find funny and everything like that. But into a room, bunch of different ages, different races, and all of that, and
Yeah.
sometimes foreign people, and you can I make these people laugh though? You know, like why
Yeah.
are they gonna laugh at me? But you get to a point where you trust your material and you learn certain gimmicks of how to deliver. So when you trust your delivery and all of these other things and little eye gestures, and when you trust those things, and then you get comfortable with that, and then that kind of like works for your material. So yeah, I think it's all just about the confidence, because you could deliver the brilliant joke, but if you're not confident, it could come across awkward and people you might not laugh. But if you're
Totally.
confident and you believe in it and you get into action, you will have a completely different response to it. But you mentioned earlier on that your dad was like pro this and your mom is pro art, you know, and
Yes.
like you just at the time. So like my next question is like, kind of like, was that like a challenge for you in the household, you know? Was your family very
Big.
supportive, you know, or was it that kind of like, I have to sneak out and don't tell dad about this so that I can do this performance or that kind of thing, and mom knows the secret? How was
Oh
that for
gosh,
you?
I think the sneaking out more came to, mom, don't tell my dad I'm gonna go and hang out with boys. But no, it was never like that. My dad was he was a disciplinarian in our household, and he always said, like, you have to be scared of at least one parent. So there was no getting out of anything when it comes to like culture and stuff like that. So no, what happened was my dad kind of wanted to set me up for success. He always said, you know, like, I'll tell him now I'm an actress, and he was like, that's a hobby. You know, you act a fool type of thing. But in his mind, you know, I mean, he's a colored man who went through a lot during apartheid and everything. So essentially what his thing was, I don't want you to be in a position where you have all of these resources and you're not able to take advantage of them, because I wish I could have taken advantage of those things. Yes. You know, so it was never a thing of not telling my dad. I think it was just kind of drinking a cup of cement and hardening up, because I mean, you know, they always say the moments will be funny down the line, but at that moment when you're busy crying, you just can't imagine how it would be funny. I guess with myself, my dad was just like, so strict, and like I would have to go to classes and extra classes, and then like extra classes, and still go home, and he'd say, "Come, let's do some practice work," and I'd be like, "Are you kidding? I just did 6 hours of maths. Why are you going to make me do chapter 2?" And he was like, "Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo was just good at football?" No, he practiced. So I guess what I'm trying to say is most of my evenings ended up in tears, but you know, built character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that is cool. Honestly, like a lot. Well, I never imagined all of that practice, but I'm sure that's why you're good at what you do now, and it comes flawless to you, you know. And that's and it actually makes you a very hard worker and someone who thinks and someone who can create as well.
True.
That is cool, but like, yeah, that is probably the only challenge for you. And like with you sneaking out and also trying to have a life at the same time, because I mean, you a teenager at some point and you want to experience things, you know, without communities, you know, because like I know in the community I'm from in Mitchell's Plain, some parts can be very challenging, you know, with either drugs and all of those things, gangsterism and poverty, you know. Were any of those things a challenge for you growing up?
No, because my dad didn't let that become a challenge. I did grow up in a relatively unsafe area in Bonteheuwel, and a lot of people wouldn't have thought so, but that's where I was. And so my dad made me do not 1, not 2, but 14 sports. He made me do all of, like, if there's a sport, you name it, I did it. And even if it was a boys' sport, I did it. Like I played touch rugby with the boys. I played cricket. I played soccer. I did all of those things. I mean, he made me do swimming 3 times a day. And I could not comprehend why I had to do all those things. But having these older conversations with my dad now, it was merely just my gran always says, Ma always says that like the idle hands become devil's playthings. And so my dad was kind of just trying to keep me out of that conversation, trying to just basically blur the lines and keep me ignorant. And I'm so glad he did, because that was never anything that ever crossed my mind. I was very aware of it because he would tell me things like, look, you can't leave the house at this time, not because I don't want you to have a life, but because you genuinely can't. It's really unsafe where we live. And yeah, so those things I was kind of conscious of, but otherwise, no.
Cool. And in your career, I know 2020 was a huge challenge, but even with the content creation and the journey with that, was there ever like a breaking point for you where you were like, you know what, I'm done. I just want to walk away from this, you know, I just want to take a breath, you know, and just breathe and just be myself right now. Was there ever a moment like that for you? And how did you find your way out of that moment?
Again, I'll bring up the fact that I am so blessed that I know what my passion is and that I do really love what I do. And so I've never ever thought about walking away and not being involved in this industry. Right now, I know that this is where I'm meant to be because my content does make an impact. But there have been moments where I have challenged myself and had to kind of kiss my inner saboteur on the mouth and go, just sit here with me. It's fine. You can't do what you want to do. I know. But let's talk about that later. That type of thing. I've had to have those moments with myself because I kind of just overexert a lot, and I'm still in a space now where I'm learning how to handle that. But I have burnt out a lot, and then really struggled getting back on the horse because I will sit there and go, why am I not enjoying what makes me passionate anymore? Why am I not enjoying? And it's because I get really burnt out sometimes. But I've never been in a situation, to answer your question, where I've been like, no, this is it. I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Could you describe a typical day? Actually, my question, I want you to describe a typical day of you creating content. And the other question to that is like, what I want to add to that is like, when you get a brief from, if a brand wants to collaborate with you, do they tell you what you should do, or do you have to use your own creativity? Because like as an actor, when you go to a casting, there's already a brief. They already have the idea of how they want to sell this product. Yes, they know exactly how they want to sell the product. But when you're a content creator, do they give you a brief like that, or do you have to use everything that you've got and come up with something creative? And do you have to like back and forth with them as well?
It's okay. So that's a double question, I guess. So with me, I write things down, and if you're listening to this and you are someone who wants to be a content creator, I urge you to write your concepts, your ideas, even things that just make you laugh. Write them down. And when I say write them down, don't just make a little scribble. Write down the exact thought, the concept, the idea, the song that you thought of, the outfit. Write it all down, because that's kind of how I create my content. I write down a concept, I write down the execution, the shot list, how it's going to happen. I mean, I come from a film background, so I know how to do those things. They really do help when you do create that content. And that's basically how I do it. But in that same breath, when you ask me about the brands and things, a lot of brands tell me to have fun with it. And I think we're in a time right now where authenticity really reads. And so they will tell you to be your authentic self and make the content that you really enjoy making. But there is always a not a tagline, but essentially a mark that they want you to hit. And the reason why, their overarching objective. And that, for me, I sometimes struggle with, and I have to remind myself that the criticism is not about me or my performance. It's about, the story that they're wanting to tell, the message they want to come across. But there are times where I send in approval, and then it's reverts after reverts after reverts. And I feel like brands at that point should have just given me a brief that was, precise, but instead they were left it open-ended and said, do what you want. So it is a never-ending battle of, what do you want and how much free reign are you really giving me?
Awesome. And is that like usually a long process for you, or is that like a quick process? Because like you said, you already know the shot list and all of that stuff, and sometimes even have concepts ready. So you can be like, oh, I can actually put this, and I can do this concept for. But like to create from scratch, like how long would it actually take you to come up with something that you're happy with, and you'd be like, cool, I'm gonna send.
I'm a very strange content creator, and I find a lot of content creators who I meet up with are like, whoa, okay, we're done already. I do not retake my stuff until it's perfect, because there is nothing in this world that is perfect. And honestly, perfect is unrelatable. So I have an idea in mind, and I will find a way in which I can accurately portray that message or that idea, and I'll just shoot it. And if I feel like, okay, cool, maybe there was a box in the background, or maybe I said a line wrong, or I missed my line, that's okay, because that's real life. I mean, I'm having this conversation with you. I don't know what I'm going to say next. I could just say banana and be like, oh, didn't mean to say it, but it's real. Yes. And so that's kind of how I make my content. I kind of just let whatever is happening just breathe, because I think it makes it more real and more approachable. I think I answered your question. I don't know.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And in your experience, I'm asking you 3, but I feel like you answered 1 in both sections. So I'm going to ask you 3 things that you definitely do to become a successful content creator like yourself, or influencer, or whatever. Sorry, which one do you go by? Influencer or
content creator, because I feel like influencer is very much like, so tell me 3 things that you're good at when you go to a job interview. And you're like,
yeah.
Content creator sounds more modest.
Cool. So give me 3 things that definitely like you should do. Like look at, and the one thing I think that you mentioned is like you write down your stuff, plan out your concepts. Okay. So you just have to answer 2 on that. Or if you have another one, you can throw it in there. And then 3 things you do not do. Like the one that you said, make sure that your handle is clean, your Instagram is clean, because when you go for job interviews, and I've seen this many times, where they don't ask for your bio, they don't ask for your CV, or they don't ask for other things, like your media kit, if you don't send it like first, and they ask to see what is your handles, even at castings they will ask you.
Oh, absolutely. That's now a thing that you put there with your name.
Absolutely. So you have to make sure that your page is actually your brand, yes. So like we get that one point where you say, be careful of what you're posting, because that is your brand. So, yes. But if you have another one to add to that, you can give us 3, but you're allowed to put it out. Right.
Well, I'm currently, shameless plug, I'm doing a series now where I do Learn With Me, and I'm busting all the myths that I feel like a lot of influencers gatekeep, where I tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, but kind of taking it with a pinch of salt and making it your own. So I guess some things that you should definitely be doing, you should definitely be making a presence for yourself, and you can't just be stagnant on your profiles and expect things to happen. What in physics they always tell you that things happen on like the momentum. Once something is moving, that's when something happens to it, like, you know, force and whatever. I didn't do physics, but I know that terminology, so to speak. So you need to be moving in order for things to happen. There needs to be some sort of momentum. Once you have that momentum, you will essentially know what type of brand you are, what niche you fall into, because you'll find the things that you enjoy making, the brands you enjoy talking to, that type of thing. The next thing is people need to stop thinking that brands reach out to you. They do, but they do that once you have done the work. And when I made a video recently about saying, no one knew who I was, no one knew who a girl named Cassidy was, I was reaching out to brands, and people are like, oh, but I also do that and it doesn't work. No, it's not just enough to say I've reached out to a brand today and they said no. When I tell you, it's like it's a numbers game. I was waking up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was emailing and DMing 100 brands a day. That was my number. I did not stop. I did that 100 brands a day, because then the likelihood of one saying yes doesn't seem so far. And that's what I mean. If you reach out and you really put in the work and you reach out to 100 brands, at least one of them will say yes. And then you're walking away with 7 brands a week, and brands attract brands. Once there is that momentum, now things are going to start happening. So don't be stagnant, and you need to reach out to people. And the next thing is to don't pigeonhole yourself. A lot of people think that they can only make one type of video. You're going to change. Your content's going to change. And when you feel like something is not making as much, I don't know, traction, maybe just take a step back and ask yourself these 3 questions. Well, not 3 questions, but it's how to know if you're a quality influencer or content creator. Are you educating? Are you influencing in some way? Like, am I inspiring? Are you inspiring? Are you educating? Or are you entertaining? That is what you need to carry on asking yourself. Is this content that I'm making serving my audience? And if you feel like you're not enjoying your content, trust me, it shows. It reads through big time. So you need to carry on making things that you are passionate about, because that's what reads and that's what people pick up on, and then they start enjoying your content. You need to make sure that you reach out to those brands and don't sit still. And you need to make sure that you are doing the work behind the scenes. You are going and taking your photos, you are posting them, you're creating. Create every single day, even if it's just for half an hour. And then the 3 things I would not do is, again, try and be, I would urge you, because South Africa, I still find, is a little bit conservative. And this is just something I've noticed with the brands. I mean, you have like Call Me Daddy, a podcast with girls who talk about sexual related stuff. And they get amazing brands, but that's overseas, where any traction, any publicity is good publicity. Right here in South Africa right now, we're still struggling with this conservative mentality, and no, we don't want to be associated to someone that does that type of stuff. So create content that is true to you, but try and keep it as vanilla as possible. And I'm just saying this as something that, like, I've noticed. You don't have to go by this, but if you're creating content for South African-based brands, this is just where we are right now. And so I would always say, play a little bit safe. TikTok is a family app. It's made for children. If you are going on there and you're hypersexualizing your content and you are swearing like a trooper and you're doing all of that, you're going to notice that you're going against your community guidelines time and time again, to which they will eventually ban your content. So play a little bit vanilla. It's, sometimes it's a little bit boring, but now you've opened your margins. The next thing, don't entertain any type of hate comments. Those people are bored. It's very easy to be a keyboard warrior. And I actually listened to a podcast recently where someone said, by you entertaining a comment from maybe someone who has 7 followers, you're bringing them up to your level.
Yeah.
You do not need to entertain that. And I guess that brings me into my third thing. There are going to be times, I know for a very long time, I was incredibly scared of cancel culture. You just need one wrong step and everyone's like, no, you're canceled. You can never be in this industry again. And I kind of think that sucks, because we're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. I think any type of mistake, there's an educational way to get around it. I mean, someone said something to me once when I brought up George Floyd in one of my first TikToks ever. And they were like, don't you think it's a little bit tone deaf that you spoke about George Floyd in your TikTok, which is a funny TikTok? So I asked them, I'd love to understand where you're coming from, so please tell me why you think it's tone deaf. Well, you brought his name up. But in the same breath, I had said, as Constantia Mom, it's a real pity to find out that things like this are still happening. I really hope George Floyd's family is okay. So in what context was that tone deaf? I said, this is how I create my content. This is how I stay true to myself. So if this is how the content I need to make and the things I need to say to keep the energy and create the conversation, then I don't believe it was tone deaf. So that person thereafter DM'd me and said, thank you. I could have gone smack bang and been like, who are you? And da-da-da-da-da, and treated it as if someone was attacking me. But every opportunity is an educational opportunity. So yeah, don't engage with hate. Don't hypersexualize or go too hectic with your content. And then the last one was obviously, don't use your opportunities to educate at all times.
Cool. And like with collaborating with brands, like, I don't want to use the word really, because, but I don't know if there's another word for it. When people's like, yeah, you're a brand slut when you work with too many, when you with just any kind of job, or you work with any kind of brand, is there like a rule also does the same thing apply? Like I know with, for example, if I do something with ads, if you've done a beer ad, you can't do another different brand of beer for quite some time, Is that the same? And then you have to maybe a word, like, because they will ask you, have you done any beer ads in the last, if they can recognize you can't do another, I think for like 5 years or 3 years, I'm not sure.
It all depends on your contract. It all depends on your contract. And this is I've learned this through working in the casting industry. It is so vital that you read through the terms and conditions of your contract, because if you are doing a commercial, sometimes that can be a while. But if you read through it, you will know, first of all, are they paying you for exclusivity? Are you only exclusive to that brand? Because if that is the case, there needs to be some sort of remuneration that's put in place so that you are able to survive on just being exclusive to that brand. Because essentially, by me doing Suzuki, I'm now unable to advertise for BMW and Mercedes. So are Suzuki making sure that there is a settlement in place where I can survive off that exclusivity? Then you need to know your territories. Where is this going? Is it just going to South Africa, or are we going worldwide, or are we only doing Western Europe, Eastern Europe, that type of stuff? Because if we are only doing South Africa, then if someone's telling me that they want to do something else and it's only going to flight in the USA, then I don't see a problem. You only said that this is going to be published. The last thing you need to look for is the type of media. Are we doing all moving media? Because then that's your internet, that is your TV, that is your big screens in the cinema, that is your phone, that is all of that type of stuff. That type of stuff will also save you, because if you go into, let's say, Donna Claire in like 5 years' time and your photo is still on the label, that is a royalty. You have not been paid to have that used again. So to answer your question, it is vital that you read your contract, because that is how you know where, if they're asking you to not work with other brands. I think if you can work for as many brands as possible and you are making that bag and you are, still staying true to yourself and making sure that you are getting paid your worth, then do it. As long as it's serving you, your brands align, I think do it.
like, doesn't it take a knock to your brand maybe sometimes? For example, like with content creation, and I'm not sure if this is how it works, but I've
Mm-hmm.
had something like this before where a brand will reach out to you and be like, no, we just want to gift you with this pair of sneakers, or we just want to gift you with this box of chocolates, and then we just want you to do a post. And there's no
But
more
then that's
strings
not a
attached.
gift. That's not a
Sorry?
gift. Then
Yeah,
that's not a gift. If someone's
sometimes, okay.
wanting to gift you something, then it sucks because I'd always feel so nasty, and I totally get where you're coming from. But if a brand approaches you and says, we'd love to gift you this, they are gifting you because they appreciate your content, and to which you say, I would love to accept it. If you do, I'd love to accept it. But at the same time, if I love this product so much, I will advertise it because I love it so much. And you will see me wearing these sneakers because I love them so much. But at the same time, if someone wants to gift you something and you have an allergic reaction, I mean, can the brand still say, hey, we gave you something? Like, I don't mean to make it about this, but if a guy buys me a drink at a bar, I don't owe him anything. We did not have a conversation about what that drink was going to entail. Nor if a brand gifts me something, does it mean I owe them anything? Unless there is a contract in place that stipulates, if I give you this, is it a trade exchange? In which case, service for service. You have to be true to yourself, and you have to say how you feel.
Yeah.
That's,
So back to the contract thing. So what if you get a gift, or they ask you, okay, please do this, and you get paid for it, and there's no strings attached, no thing of like, no, next, like you cannot, but let's say Adidas gives you sneakers. I want you to do a little post and they're gonna pay you for it. But there's no strings attached. After the post, it's done. Your relationship with them is done. And then Puma approaches you and they're like, they want to do a post. Also gonna pay you, no strings attached. So you're not doing anything with a contract where you're not going anything.
That's exactly. If there are no strings attached, then you should really take it as such. I normally find that in the contract because if you're working with big brands, they are going to send you a contract. It's both your safety net and theirs. It's a red flag if a brand wants to do something with you and they don't want a contract, because it also means that there's a possibility of them taking advantage of you. But normally it stipulates that even if it's like pish posh, okay, we've paid you, you've made the content, done. It'll normally stipulate how long they want it on your feed for, maybe a month, 2 months. And if you really like it, you can keep it there. You will have to obviously take into consideration that brands will probably look at your profiles and say, oh, they've worked here, they've done this brand. I don't know if it's still flighting, da 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 da. But if you have done all of the deliverables and you've done what you've said you needed to do, and your contract is pretty like well done, I would say you can actually hide the post, archive the post.
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
so that's what I would say.
That's cool. Never knew that. Thank you for that intel. And actually, you've been giving so much information right now. And earlier you mentioned that you're actually doing some sessions. What do you call your sessions actually, where you're educating people on?
Simple Learn with Me.
Okay, so that's basically you stepping into the mentorship position now, and you're kind of like mentoring people on a broad scale. Can you name any mentors that you had in your career, whether it be acting or whatever job that you were at, or just in life in general? At what point did your mentors walk into your life?
Okay, mentors. Acting, I never really had any mentors. I mean, when I went to acting school, I kind of had like a teacher that I got really close to. Her name was Tam Spears. A recent mentor who I've been working with is Matthew Harrison. He's an American acting coach. And then in the casting world, we're very good friends now. His name's Ian Milne. He owns Casting Co. He was my casting director, mentor. But that was, I kind of like to march to the beat of my own drum when it came to anything. Like, I remember when I was working in casting, and that was years ago when I started. I think it was possibly 2016. I started working in casting. I would spend every lunch break, every moment I had to myself, Googling social media and social media management. So I didn't really have any proper mentors. I just had people that were really present in my life at those times and gave me a lot of tips and tricks. And yeah, I kind of just ran with that.
Awesome stuff. All right, Cassidy, it's been a lovely evening speaking to you. I've learned so much. And I think I'm going to take a lot of that notes and apply to myself also, because I'm thinking of ways to build my social media presence. You know, it's very important.
Okay, awesome.
So, yeah. And for me, I think I'm an overthinker, and the way you like just do it, you know, put it out there and just trust yourself. I'm like, no, it has to be perfect. I didn't do it. So I put myself on so much.
I don't know if I can do it. And you're like, just do it. Just do it. So same. Take your own advice and I'll try to do mine.
Okay. I hear you. Okay, I got you. You get on stage and I'll get on the socials.
Okay, sounds good. Deal.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So this brings me to my final question for you. And my question is, this is what I do with all of my guests. I put them in my little time machine and I turn back the clock to a very, very, very young Cassidy, a very, very young girl, starting out, not knowing about what it's the person now, it's the version that I see now today, the older version of you going back to the younger Cassidy. And I'm giving you 5 minutes with her to give her some advice or some guidance. What would that be?
Stop listening to what other people have to say about you, and stop believing them when they tell you that what you're doing is not enough, or just stop trying to please everyone that walks into your life. Stop trying to change yourself so that that person will like you more, even though you don't actually enjoy their company and they make you feel uncomfortable. Just be yourself. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to be wild and wonderful. And it's okay to be yourself, because truly you're going to go through years where you're going to try and fit into molds that are just not for you. You're a triangle and you keep trying to fit into a bloody circle. And trust me, triangles are cool. There's going to be a time like in 2017 where everyone flipping tattoos triangles onto themselves. That's how cool you are. So I guess just stop trying to be like everyone else, because everyone else is kind of trying to be like you. And so you should be more like you also.
That was beautiful. I love it. I want to applaud that.
I'm a
Did you
poet.
rehearse?
No, I didn't.
Did you rehearse?
No, I didn't.
No, absolutely love that. I absolutely love it. It's a very beautiful message. And I feel like this is like always the best part of the show when I take people back, you know, and because it's always that, you know, it's looking how far you've come and how far you've grown, and you realize the fears and how and where you started, you know, and sometimes most of us are at that place with those fears right now, you know, and that was your beginning. So for us, it's that, because a lot of people, you're speaking to them directly, you know, and be like, yeah, absolutely. I should, you know, and at the same time, you're healing the inner child. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for that full message. Is there anything that I left out that you wish you could share with anyone? Yeah, or do you want to have any shout outs? You know, I'd like to shout out to all my fans, whatever.
Ugh, no, they hear me enough. They don't need shout outs. Gosh, I think right now I'm going through a time where I cannot reiterate this more. If you enjoy someone's content, if you look up to someone, you need to also hold up your end of the bargain. Content creators are working their asses off, for the lack of a better term, to bring you the content that makes you happy. And so it is important that you go and like and comment and share and save and subscribe and do all of those things, because without that, we will cease to exist. And I just want you to think about what lockdown would have been without your movies, without your music, without your podcasts. You turn to us when you have nothing else, and yet when I find that when content creators ask for the support that they need to keep going, we're met with, oh no, that's so lame. It's really not lame to support your community, and you should. it's actually pretty cool. I guess
I
that's
love
what I have to say.
You know, I love that you say that because I think a lot of people don't understand how much their contribution is because they'll
Yeah.
see in person and be like, I love your stuff, but then they don't like
She'll be like,
literally
"That's funny. You
like
don't even follow
comment.
me."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they'll be like, I love your stuff. And I don't think they understand how important that is. That's why when I'm emceeing, I'm always telling the crowd, your reaction, your sounds, your claps, that is amazing.
It
And we
only
feed off that
works
as
with your
artists.
interaction.
Absolutely. And it helps with your brand growth, right? If they follow and they
Absolutely.
like and they comment, you know, it helps with your brand. So they're actually helping you elevate and helping you stay there. If they actually, like you
Absolutely.
said, if they like it, just do your part and it doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't take anything from you.
No
You
one
can
is
even
going to
make a
think you're
mistake.
less cool. Like, I
Absolutely.
honestly, I don't know when that started. I think it probably started with the Kardashians. People did not want to say that they enjoyed watching the Kardashians. And I'm like, who cares if you do? And it's now at the same point where it's like, ooh, what if that person sees that I've liked? Like, honestly, who cares?
Yeah. With that being said, and all of that information and what we need to do to like obviously empower our platforms, could you please drop us all of your platforms where we can find you? Because
Okay.
right now I'm only following you on not on TikTok yet, but I think I only have you on Instagram. So I'm gonna get you on TikTok.
That
I'm
is
gonna get you on
so
TikTok.
great. And trust me, I've done the work to make sure that I have the same handle on all of my
Absolutely.
platforms. So it's a girl named Cassidy on TikTok, a girl named Cassidy on Instagram. It is AGN Cassidy on Twitter, and it is a girl named Cassidy on YouTube as well. I know, guys. I basically have the same password for all of my things. You know, it's like that type of mentality.
Keep it
It's giving me
simple.
that vibe.
Let them find you.
It's
It's
1,
there
2,
for people
3, 4 on everything.
Yeah, it's there for people to find, so they must be able to find you, you know. Click
100.
one name and so many options, you know. I
Yeah.
love that.
Cool.
All right, Cassidy, it's been lovely hanging out with you. I hope you enjoyed your time here on The Price of Fame. But it's time for me now to release you back to your lovely family, and may you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Awesome
Cheers,
stuff.
guys.
Thank you so much, Cassidy, and we
Bye.
out. Bye-bye. All right, gents, ladies, usually ladies then gents, but tonight it's gents and ladies. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, to all the supporters and all the guests that I had in season 1, you guys carried me through, and I love you for that. Season 2, I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it, and I hope you're back and tuning in. This is The Price of Fame, ladies and gents. And like I said, if you want to catch me on Facebook, you can catch me at Lunga Tshuka, the Energizer Funny. That is Lunga Tshuka, the Energizer Funny. On Instagram, you'll catch me at Lunga Tshuka. And if you're looking for exclusive snippets of The Price of Fame, especially season 1, you can catch it also on Instagram, a separate page that is The Price of Fame ZA. And what's new? If you guys want to check out all the audios, because now we have The Price of Fame on audios on 3 different platforms. We have it on Apple, Spotify, as well as Anchor FM. And while you're at Anchor FM, send us a voice note. Let me know what you think about the show. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show. And let me know how much you love it. Holler at us, holler at me, but that's enough information. I'm going to say good night now. My name is Lunga Tshuka. I've been your host. This is The Price of Fame.